Okay, so don't got much else to do right now. Um, I mean, I could be working on that whole lab, but again, I don't know if I'm sticking in the class, so just kind of putzing around. And I wanted to make another video, in particular, responding to Alex's question about true love, whether or not I think it exists. I'm gonna turn that off. I had the light on, but anyways, um, truth is, at my age, having had all the experiences I have, and I've had, especially recently, I don't think true love really exists. I think it's something that us guys, we kind of dream up. It's that sort of hopeful, wishful thinking of like, oh, she'll love you for who you are, no matter what, and that sort of thing. But truth is, like, this isn't to say, and I suppose, if you could define this as love, I really struggle to sort of see opportunistic attraction or desire as love. Because I think there's genuine desire out there. It's like if you ever experience it, like, you'll know it. That sort of deal, hopefully. Though sometimes, you can get kind of tricked, or tripped up with fool's gold, aka the case of, let's say, a narcissist, like especially a covert narcissist, or someone who's got BPD, love bombing you, and you can end up thinking, oh, she's really into you, or whatever. And then of course, it turns out that no, you're just being, played as a fool, played for a fool, and either just being used for attention or because she wanted to, get the other guy jealous or something like that, the guy she really wanted. But no, I really don't think that true love, or true love, that it really exists. I think it's just wishful thinking, and it's sort of like, a lot of things in life when we start off as kids or as adolescents, we want to sort of dream up this future where we're gonna like escape a lot of the bad things in our lives, and we're gonna find true love, or we're gonna become multi-billionaires, or we're gonna become astronauts, or doctors, or whatever. And as you go on in life, like it's good to start off with, I suppose, with that sort of hopefulness and that drive, but eventually it starts to sort of burn out, and you sort of end up landing where you land, I suppose. But I'm trying myself not to let that become like a set in stone sort of thing. Like I'm, because a lot of times you get told in life that, oh, this is your last chance at whatever, and or after this certain age you're too old, and then, unless there's like hard and fast or set in stone sort of standards for certain things, like a lot of that is up to like your ability to adapt and to sort of rejuvenate yourself and keep yourself going and not get set in your ways. But yeah, I don't think true love exists. And I think like the earlier in your life you confront and accept that painful reality that it doesn't exist, I think the better off you'll be in life. Ironically enough, it's sort of like these folks who don't believe in all that sort of stuff and don't play by that set of rules, who end up becoming the happiest. They're not spending their lives trying to build a castle on quicksand. They're not chasing after something that, oh, it's a great idea, it's beautiful and amazing, but it doesn't exist and it's not gonna exist. I mean, the best scenario I could think of, you end up with some girl who, for her, you're like the best she could ever get, whether it comes to money or looks or more carnal aspects of a relationship. And at the same time, like, she somehow checks off enough, if not all, the boxes of what your idealized mate would be. And even if you're like aware of the fact that it's all opportunistic from her side, and it's very, aka conditional, it's conditional love, not unconditional love. Because I think that's what guys mean when they say talk about true love. It's like the unconditional love. It's the, no matter what, she'll love you, and she likes you for who you are, and all that kind of stuff. But if you get into one of the situations where like you're the best she could do, and she is the closest you'll ever get, to that idealized image of a woman in your life, romantic partner, and you're able to suspend your disbelief for the time being. You're able to sort of like forget about the fact that, it's all opportunistic and it's conditional and that sort of deal. You can have the illusion or the fantasy of true love. And I've had those moments, and yeah, they feel great and all that sort of stuff. But again, it's kind of like what goes up must come down, and the gravity of the situation is that, this is not your idealized true love. That stuff doesn't exist. It's not gonna exist. It never did exist. Somehow down the generations, all these, great men, successful men have been able to grapple with that sort of stuff for a time. And I think a lot of them, their downfall was the fact that they, inevitably ended up sort of falling back into their idealistic sort of perception of life and reality. And, they sort of went after that which they can never really have, yet again. Those sorts of tendencies took over, and they were like, okay, I want true love. And it's like, or I want immortality, or I want, whatever the case may be, something that's so intangible and idealistic and idealized and impossible to have that, eventually, sort of things caught up with them. And it's something I'm really like struggling with, because you see, like, I could be okay with that if I end up being the guy who had all the things that the girl I idealized wanted in a guy, Like if that girl at my now former workplace, if I was able to be like the other guy, and then I could kind of idealistically, love her, and have all those feelings, and if they'd be reciprocated because, well, I'd be the guy she was looking for at this time in her life, as opposed to having to be, put on the back burner and be like, the beta in waiting, which is just something I will never settle for. I mean, I would rather die alone than end up in that kind of situation, where you got to be this chump, who's getting the leftovers after she was forced to settle, that sort of thing. But yeah, I would be okay with it if I end up being that guy who could get the girl, because I was, somehow fulfilling all of her opportunistic standards and needs and desires, and I said all the right words, I had the right look, for the girl that I actually wanted, not some other girl who I didn't want, but the girl I actually wanted, Yeah, it's sort of a sad and strange and odd thing to, sort of discuss or put out there, but, after I got sent home, and I basically like knew like, this is not gonna, it's not gonna end with me still working there, and I didn't want to work there anymore, and there was no real way that I was going to enact any sort of plan to change her mind about me, or to change the minds of the folks at the work, like my now former manager, and et cetera, et cetera. Like I went through my YouTube account for this channel, and I was like I went and unsubscribed from a whole ton of channels that were like associated with the kind of content like scary stories and that sort of stuff that I had watched with her in the lab while we were working. And when she was love bombing me and basically giving me this whole spiel about how she was so into all the things that I was into, and etc., etc., etc. And it was sort of like, it's sort of part of this process of like, rejecting this notion of just be yourself. Because I was just being myself with all that, and for a time there, and I got basically lied to and led on to believe that, being myself and being into all that kind of stuff and opening up and letting a girl in to see, oh, this is the frame of my life and this is what I'm into, and these are the kinds of content that I watch or that I'm into. All that sort of stuff. That had been so much of what had turned her off to me, or turned me off to her, turned her off to me, basically like caused her to lose interest in me, and so much of that, like I had to sort of demolish it, and maybe people are gonna run me up the flagpole about that, and you got the flagpole about that, but it's interesting because, to see that sort of stuff go down, kind of frustrating or annoying because I find that so much in the red pill is about changing yourself so that you can be attractive to these women you actually want. And if that means that I don't listen to scary stories anymore, I don't get into that kind of content, I have to modify myself so that I'm actually attractive to women I actually want to be with. It's sort of like a cost-benefit analysis there. I mean, I used to have a friend years ago now who very much had that mentality of, I am who I am, deal with it. And from everything I've heard about where he's still at in life, it's like he's still living in a trailer park with his mother. His brother moved out. His brother got his, ish together and changed and, took on things that, that this former friend of mine wasn't willing to do or able to do. And, I could see the different results that they got. And, I had my falling out with this now former friend. And, there's that mentality yet again of, to bring it back, kind of full circle in that sort of sense of, I am who I am. I'm not going to change, but then this guy would also be complaining about his life and how much it sucked and whatnot. And it's kind of like, me personally, like when it comes to women, the girls I like I'm sick and tired of ending up being this guy, getting rejected, getting led on, having to basically it was almost like when I walked around the corner of the building and I saw them together, it was almost like, it was almost like the feeling of like walking in on your girlfriend or your wife getting screwed by some other guy and having to be that guy who's like the CUCK, and I'm tired of that. And I don't know what I have to do to not be that guy anymore. I'm still trying to figure it out at 34, which, like I said so many times, it feels like it's way too late. And, I'd warn anybody else out there, anybody who, if you're in your early 20s and you got all these idealistic notions, you need to disabuse yourself of them. And you need to understand that if you're going to do what you consider to be a sacrifice, I swore I'd never leave her. I'd always be there for her, and I'm going to always be there for her. Like no one is going to really reward you for that. You're going to be taken advantage of. You're going to be treated like trash. And, this whole notion of like that you'll be less of a man if you walk away, if you decide to disabuse yourself of an abusive relationship, where you got a girlfriend who's cheating on you, whatnot. Like, look, this is something that I think Rollo has pointed out, that if, you have someone who has cheated on you, you're in a relationship with, that's like a sign of a lack of genuine desire. They don't really want you, you know? And like with this girl that, I dealt with, like, for her to quote unquote move on as fast as she did and, to behave the way she did, like, that's really messed up. And, it's kind of part of life, I suppose, or it can be part of life, doesn't have to be, but, all my experiences have led me to, like, this point where, like, if somebody were to ask me, advice about a lot of this sort of stuff, I'd be like, disabuse yourself of this notion of true love, and reformulate your understanding of what it means to be honorable as a man, because, oftentimes what you'll find is that when certain demographics, certain people talk about a man's honor, or what a real man would do, or what a good man would do, it's ironically enough always or nearly always the exact kind of stuff that that just so happen to benefit those people, Like if you're in my position, let's say you're looking, a few years in the future, and let's just say, for the sake of the argument, best case scenario, I turn my GPA around, I withdraw from this class, but I bounce back and I get into that grad school program, and I pay off all my debts, and I'm able to live off of passive income, and I get a master's in, biomedical engineering, and I become a full-time engineer and all that kind of stuff, and I'm making six figures and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sort of, I've somehow gotten my mind right, and I'm back out in the dating market. I'm, really looking to date and looking to get into a relationship and all that. Likelihood is, given my age, if I was looking at women in my age bracket, a significant percentage of them are going to be single moms. And when you think about that sort of deal, where you're dealing with, these women who, had kids with other guys who, in many cases, were clearly not, going to be sticking around, not going to be, father figures to the kids. I know that in situations like that, whether it's coming from my own family, which is the most infuriating and depressing part of it, or from these women themselves, I know I'll hear the talk that, if I was really honorable, if I really believed in true love, or if if my word meant anything, etc., I'd marry one of those single moms and I'd raise some other guy's kid, or kids. And, that sort of example, I think, kind of would get the point across. I would hope that, you have to sort of look at this and understand that, you have to be, I believe, honorable to yourself, true to yourself, have yourself as your own mental point of origin, like Rollo talks about, and honestly, like, understand that, you have to understand honor and your word and all that in a context that cannot be manipulated and used by other people. And honestly, like, dude, like, if you're with a girl that's cheated on you, like, it's almost like, just rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with, because that's a really messed up spot to be in, and it's not going to end well. I mean, if she can rationalize her way into cheating on you once, she can do it twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times. She could probably just dump you and move on with some other guy that she actually wanted. And it sucks, but, that's kind of the truth of it. So, yeah, no, I don't believe in true love. Not anymore. I believe at best, the best approximation of true love would be like if, like I said, if you were to meet her conditions and she was to meet your dreams, that sort of thing. That sort of middle ground where I think things used to be, or they at least society tried to make things be in that sort of state, creating as ideal of conditions as they could, so that it was like every guy had a fair shot at getting a wife and having kids, and every woman had a fair shot at getting a husband and being protected and provided for, you know, and that's really no longer the case, you know. Folks have been brought up on this sort of me mentality, and I'm gonna get mine, and everything's very, very fleeting. There's no, you know, solid emotional connection. There's no understanding that, you know, you get what you give, and it's just not really about you. It should be about other people, and, you know, um, very much the, you know, cheap thrills and instant gratification, and oh, this guy's, you know, being a little bit annoying or weird right now, well, I better drop him and find somebody else. Or, you know, if this girl's not doing her thing, then I better drop her and, you know, find somebody else. And, you know, that's the kind of world we live in, and I don't think that's the kind of world where true love or true love or love can really exist, if it ever could exist to begin with. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I have to say about that. You know, if you guys got any other like philosophical questions or so, like you want to hear my angle on things, like, you know, leave a comment. I'll respond to that, and you know, we can start a conversation about these topics. And I'm sorry this is, you know, probably really like a downer video. I'm not saying you can't become happy or you can't have a healthy, functional relationship, but it's got to be rooted in reality and pragmatic expectations. And you know, it's sort of like when I graduated, you know, I think about like, okay, you know, what does success look like? What is life after graduation supposed to be looking like, you know? Or in this case with this girl and that whole, you know, workplace, like, what is justice or vengeance or righting wrongs, or what does it all sort of look like? And, you know, truth is, it doesn't look like what you're wanting it to look like, and there's always a price to pay for that sort of stuff. So, like I said, you can become happy, you can become healthy and functional, you can have healthy, functional, happy relationships, or, you know, marriage or so, but you know, it's got to be rooted in pragmatic reality and, you know, realism and all that. And you know, interestingly enough, like I think about, and hopefully these lights aren't going to go off soon, but I think about like the image of the pioneers going west in America, and, you know, not getting into all this sort of side stuff people want to, you know, talk about, but just the image of like, of that sort of scenario, or even just, you know, when I hear about like my forefathers, for instance, you know, a lot of them were farmers in the Midwest, and, you know, how like what satisfied them, what made them happy, what made those family units, you know, form and succeed. Because you have like the image of these pioneers going west, you know, with all their belongings, you know, in a wagon, and traveling west, and, you know, crossing the plains and the deserts and going through the mountains and all that. And some of them, you know, the ones who made it, the ones who succeeded, they somehow, you know, were able in that day and age to have a healthy, successful family unit. And somehow, you know, the men's needs, the women's needs, they were met. And, you know, you sort of, you know, want to think about like, okay, well, how would that work, and what would that look like nowadays? And, you know, like, I mean, heck, I found an article written by my grandma about her grandpa, my great grandfather, and like she had this like chest of it almost looked like a treasure chest, and it had, you know, all these sort of like my great grandpa's like effects, you know, some of his old like was it like he had subscribed to some like Farmer's Gazette, or he had some other items, you know, maybe stuff that had been brought over from Germany, you know, by his father or his grandfather. And, you know, it was very much like this sort of like, they were very simple people, easily content with having like the necessities of life. And somehow, they got married, that generation, they had kids and they did their thing. And it was like, and this is a time when like there were a lot of hardships, going down in the world. Whether you want to talk about the late 19th, early 20th centuries and the different diseases and the wars and all that kind of stuff. And somehow they were content. They were happy with what they had. They were able to make it work. And I don't know like why myself or my generation can't seem to do that, but it's something to think on and to contemplate, I think, like what it really takes to be happy and content these days, and what it takes to, like, find yourself in a situation where you're at least satisfied, and not just in the financial or sustenance sort of a sense, but and not just also physically healthy, but mentally healthy, mentally happy, mentally content, But anyways, that's enough of me rambling on. It's 26 minutes now, and I'm gonna finish recording and upload this, and then I don't know, go about the rest of my evening or night and figure out what I'm gonna do. So, anyways, I'll see you folks around. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.